So you're thinking of moving to and living in Oklahoma City. I want to give you the pros and the cons of living in Oklahoma City, from the weather to the traffic and everything in between. Whether you're moving in 10 days or 10 months, I'd love to be able to help you in that buying or selling process. So again, in this video, I'm going to be walking you through the pros and the cons of moving to and living in Oklahoma City. My first pro, and I imagine this is what brings a lot of people to the Oklahoma City area, is the home prices and the cost of living. According to the National Association of Realtors, home prices were less than half the median national sales price. And overall, Oklahoma has the third lowest cost of living in the United States. So if you are moving from an area that is a much higher cost of living, you are going to be very happy with the cost of living in Oklahoma, what you can get for your money. You really can get nicer homes than maybe what you're coming from within the same price range. The second pro is that Oklahoma, pretty much for the most part, has 4 seasons. You have a pretty dry winter, a very hot and humid summer, and a relatively short fall and spring, but you do see the 4 seasons. You see the temperature change, you see the rain and the flowers and all the things that come with the different seasons. So if you are someone that really likes to have 4 different seasons to be separated, Oklahoma does a pretty good job at having the different seasons. Pro number 3 is that there are lots of parks and wildlife just around the Oklahoma City area. Lots of stuff to do that's outside. A lot of the neighboring cities and communities, there's a lot of just parks, and you can go and walk, and it's just a fun time, and it's something cool that you're able to do to get outside, and there's a lot of options for that. And you might see some deer or some different animals as you're walking around. Pro number 4 is that Oklahoma is very central in the United States. This might be a con for some people if you are wanting to be near a beach or wanting to be on one coast or the other, but I see it as a pro because you are not too far from anything. You're right in the middle, and so you are a day or two drive from the East Coast, California, so you're not super close to anything with water, but you're not as far from California as you would be in Florida, and vice versa. So central, you're close to Dallas, you're close to Kansas City. You can get kind of in that Midwest area pretty quickly. Pro number 5 is that Lake Hefner is in Oklahoma City, and this is a beautiful lake in the northern region of Oklahoma City, and there's a giant walking track around, a trail around it, and so just a really pretty lake, something fun to do. There's a lot of activities that go on at Lake Hefner, so it's a really beautiful place, and I think it adds to Oklahoma City. Pro number 6 is the people. Depending on where you're from, you might consider Oklahoma the South or not, but I would say that the people definitely have Southern hospitality. As you're walking around in the grocery store, people are really friendly, and people overall are really nice and welcoming. I would say that is a really big pro of Oklahoma, is the people. Number 7 is that Oklahoma City has a great airport. It's a smaller airport. Because it's smaller, you get to avoid a lot of security lines. The people there, again, are really nice, and so you're not really having to deal with a lot of the traffic. It's a really easy experience to go to the Oklahoma City airport, and so I would say that is the next pro. And you have all of your major airlines that fly out of it, so Southwest, Delta, American Airlines, all of those fly out of it, and so you can sometimes find some really good deals. And if it's not necessarily cheaper for you to fly out of Oklahoma City, again, you're not too far from Tulsa or Dallas, if sometimes that's cheaper and you're trying to save some money by that way. Number 8 for the pro is the sunsets and the sunrises. Because Oklahoma is so flat, the sunrises and the sunsets are absolutely beautiful. You get cotton candy skies, and it's honestly one of the best parts of my morning and my evening when I'm on my way to work or getting home, and the sunsets and the sunrises are just absolutely beautiful. Pro number 9 is that there's a lot of job opportunities in the Oklahoma City area. You have access to jobs in the oil industry, you have medical, engineering, farming, Paycom, which is a big company that is kind of from Oklahoma City area. They have a lot of jobs. You have government jobs, educational jobs, sales jobs. So you really have a wide variety of types of jobs that you can find in the Oklahoma City area. Pro number 10, and this is definitely a fun one, is the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is a professional NBA basketball team, plays in Oklahoma City. So actually in the Paycom Center downtown, which is where the Oklahoma City Thunder play. And this is really fun. I know that there are seasons where they're better than others, and so depending on the season, you might be able to go and watch a really good game, or you might be able to go for really inexpensive if they're not having the best season. But it's really fun just to go and do that throughout the week. And again, it's something that you can do that's honestly not, at least in this season, not really expensive. You can go and get tickets pretty cheap. So that's a really fun thing to do in Oklahoma City. So I would say that is a pro. Pro number 11 is that you are really close to different universities. So you're really close to Oklahoma University, so OU, Oklahoma State University, or OSU. You have University of Central Oklahoma up in Edmond. So you have a lot of colleges that are right around you. You also have some in the Oklahoma City area as well. But kind of in those surrounding suburbs, you are really close to some of the main college football, just a lot of educational options around that area. Pro number 12, and this just has to do with how close it is to another city, but you are only 3 hours from Dallas. So while Oklahoma City has almost everything you would need, you are only 3 hours from Dallas. So if you want to go to IKEA, Six Flags, things like that, it's a really quick drive just right down to Dallas. And so I would say that's a pro because, again, Oklahoma City doesn't necessarily have everything, but they have a lot of stuff. And so things that you can't find in Oklahoma City, you might be able to go and find in Dallas, which is only 3 hours away. Pro number 13 is that Oklahoma City has a really great, unique downtown area. As you walk down through Bricktown, is what they call it, there is a little canal and little river boats that will float through the downtown area. And so it's really just a unique and really cute downtown area. Lots of restaurants, movie theater, the minor league Dodgers baseball stadium is down there. So there's really just a lot of fun, and it's just a cute little downtown that's fun to take your family walking through, go eat. So just really cool atmosphere. Pro number 14 is that Oklahoma City has some really great suburbs. So if you don't want to live in the heart of Oklahoma City, you can live in one of the surrounding suburbs. You have Edmond, Yukon, Moore, Norman, Piedmont, lots of areas. If you want to go a little farther north, you have Guthrie, which is a small little downtown. So you have a lot of really great suburbs just surrounding Oklahoma City area. Pro number 15 is that there is some really good food in Oklahoma City. In Oklahoma City, you don't have the beach, you don't have Six Flags or any of these major things, but we do have really good food. You have good options for pizza and burgers, and if there's one thing Oklahoma can do, I would say it is the food, because this is one of my favorite pros. Moving here, it's fun to experience all the new restaurants, and yeah, I would say that the food is one of the best pros of Oklahoma City. So now we're gonna get into the cons. What are some of the negatives of living in Oklahoma City? And some of these you might hear and think that's not a con to me, that doesn't bother me. And if so, that's great. But these are some of the things that I think, if depending on where you're moving from, this might be something that is a downside for you. The first one is that there are no mountains and beaches. Like I've mentioned, Oklahoma's pretty flat. Now you might have some mountains in different parts, but not in Oklahoma City. And so you're not gonna have the beach like you might have in Florida or the East Coast or the West Coast. It's pretty flat, and so depending on where you're coming from, that can be kind of hard to get used to. If you step off the airplane and you look around and you're just thinking, oh my goodness, I can see so far out, and you were never able to do that before. And so depending, again, that might not be a big deal to you, but if you're used to a lot of scenery, it does kind of take some getting used to. Con number 2 is the wind. To me, this is the worst part of Oklahoma because it's so flat. It is very windy. There's not a lot to break up. Oklahoma City in particular, there are days where it gets super, super windy. And when you tell people who don't live here, sometimes they don't understand it. But then they come and visit, and then they finally get it. And you're like, yes, this is what I'm telling you about, because it gets so windy. But again, it's one of those things that you kind of just get used to. The longer you live here, you start to think, okay, is it less windy, or does it just not bother me anymore? And so again, when you move here, it might be a con, but you'll probably get used to it. Con number 3 is that Oklahoma City and kind of those surrounding areas are missing some of your major grocery stores that you might have in other parts of the country. So Publix, Kroger, Food City, types of grocery stores like this, the Oklahoma City area just doesn't have them, or doesn't have a lot of them like you might have in some of your other areas. Kroger does now have delivery, but only delivery. You can't actually go into the Kroger, they just deliver the groceries, so that's new and that's kind of exciting. But those main chains, it's kind of, you get here and you're looking for Publix and you realize, oh, there aren't any right in my vicinity. So that's kind of hard to get used to as well, but there are other grocery stores. So Crest is a local grocery store that you'll find here. Homeland is another grocery store. They have your typical Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco. They have Trader Joe's, stuff like that. But those Kroger, Publix, those types, there's not just a plethora of those types of grocery stores. The next con is the state tax. Oklahoma has one of the highest combined local and state taxes in the nation, and When you move here, you have the pro of having more affordable housing, lower cost of living, but you will have some higher taxes. So in my opinion, the trade-off is worth it. I'd rather be able to get a nicer house for $100,000 less and pay some more in taxes than the other way around. But it is, again, kind of a con and something to get used to when you see your taxes and you see how much higher they are here than some of the other places. Next con is higher insurance. And this is due because of the weather, because of the threat of tornadoes, hail. You're naturally just going to have a higher insurance because you have higher probability of natural disasters. And so you do have higher insurances here. Again, you have the cheaper price of living, so it's kind of a trade-off. Depending on where you're living in the Oklahoma City area kind of determines how probable and likely your threat of tornadoes is. And so if you're moving to the Oklahoma City area, I just suggest doing a little bit of research into what areas maybe see more tornadoes or less tornadoes. And that brings me to my last con, is that in Oklahoma, it is known for tornadoes. Yes, they happen. Do they happen all the time, every day? No, but certain seasons, you're in tornado season, you're going to have that threat of weather. And again, depending on where you're located around the Oklahoma City area, you might not see as many in some areas than you would in others. So just do some research, contact people who live here. If you don't know anybody, then I would love to be able to help you, especially if you are moving. But I am able to buy and sell in Yukon, more, again, any of those kind of suburbs of Oklahoma City. So if you're thinking of moving to the Oklahoma City area, I would love to be able to help you in that buying or selling process. Whether you're moving in 10 days or 10 months, I'd love to be able to work with you and establish that relationship so that I can figure out what you like, what kind of things you're looking for in a home, and then together we can work and find that for you. So feel free to reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, send me a DM, schedule a Google Meet. And again, I would love to just be able to sit down and talk to you and plan out your next move. I love Oklahoma, I love living here, and I really think that you will too.